The year was 217 AD, a time when the Roman Empire was teetering on the brink of collapse. Rome, once a beacon of order and civilization, now lay shrouded in darkness and despair. Gone were the days of the 5 good emperors, replaced by the corrupt and tyrannical reign of Geta and Caracalla. These twin emperors, driven by insatiable greed and crippling paranoia, bled the empire dry, leaving it a shadow of its former self. The provinces groaned under their oppressive rule, their once vibrant spirit crushed beneath the weight of injustice and exploitation. Decadence festered within the Senate, whispers of conspiracy and treachery echoing through the halls of power, as senators plotted and schemed for their own gain. The legions, once disciplined and loyal, now served as tools of oppression, their swords pointed not at foreign invaders, but at the very citizens they had sworn to protect, betraying their sacred duty. A pall had fallen over the Roman world, a sense of foreboding that whispered of darker days to come as the empire's foundations began to crack. The provinces, once the lifeblood of the empire, withered under the neglect and exploitation, their people left to fend for themselves in a crumbling world. Tax collectors roamed the land like wolves, leaving behind empty homes and desolate fields, their greed knowing no bounds. The cries of the oppressed fell on deaf ears, their pleas for justice lost in the wind, as the empire's leaders turned a blind eye to their suffering. The once mighty legions, their ranks now filled with mercenaries and conscripts, cared little for the fate of the empire they served, their loyalty easily bought and sold. They were interested only in their own survival, their loyalty bought and sold with the promise of gold and plunder, their honor long forgotten. The very foundations of Rome seemed to tremble, threatening to crumble into dust as the empire's once mighty structures began to decay. The people, starved of hope, looked to the heavens for a sign, a glimmer of light in the encroaching darkness, praying for a miracle. They yearned for a leader, a champion who would rise from the ashes and restore Rome to its former glory, someone who could bring back the days of peace and prosperity. Little did they know that their salvation lay not in the halls of power, but in the heart of a humble shoemaker, a man destined to inherit a legacy he never knew he possessed, a man who would change the course of history. His name was Lucius Verus Aurelius, and he was the last hope of a dying empire, a beacon of light in the darkest of times. Far from the intrigue and corruption of Rome, in the sun-drenched province of Numidia, Lucius lived a simple life. He dwelled in the small village of Lambassa, his days spent crafting sandals and tending to his small patch of land. He was a man of quiet strength and unwavering integrity, his heart untouched by the darkness that had gripped the empire. His wife, Arishat, was a woman of remarkable spirit and kindness, her laughter echoing through their humble home. They were content in their love, finding solace and joy in the simplicity of their lives. Lucius, though unaware of his lineage, possessed a natural nobility that shone through his every action. He treated everyone he met with respect, from the wealthy landowner to the lowliest beggar. His wisdom, born of quiet contemplation and a deep understanding of the human heart, made him a respected figure in the village. People sought his counsel, finding solace and guidance in his words. He was a man of peace, but within him slumbered the heart of a warrior, a legacy passed down through generations of heroes. Arishat, with her quick wit and infectious laughter, brought joy to Lucius's life. She was his rock, his confidant, the one person he could always rely on. Her love for him burned bright, a beacon of warmth and light in a world growing increasingly cold and dark. They dreamed of a future filled with children, their laughter echoing through the olive groves that surrounded their home. They believed their lives, though humble, were blessed by the gods. They were unaware of the storm that was brewing on the horizon, a storm that threatened to tear their world apart. The tranquility of Lucius's life was shattered with the arrival of General Acacius and his legionaries. The once peaceful village of Lambassa was now under the shadow of impending doom. Acacius, a ruthless and ambitious officer, had been dispatched to Numidia to quell a minor uprising and replenish the imperial coffers. His reputation for brutality preceded him. He was a man devoid of honor and compassion, seeing the province and its people as nothing more than ripe fruit to be plundered. His eyes gleamed with greed and malice. His arrival heralded a reign of terror that would forever scar the land. The once vibrant villages were reduced to ashes and despair. Villages were razed, their inhabitants slaughtered or enslaved. The air was thick with the stench of death and the cries of the suffering. The cries of the innocent rose to the heavens, but their pleas for mercy went unanswered. The gods seemed deaf to their suffering. Lambassa, like countless other villages, was overrun by Acacius's forces. The flames of destruction consumed everything in their path. Lucius, witnessing the carnage unfolding before his eyes, knew he had to act. He could not stand idly by while his home was destroyed. He urged his fellow villagers to resist, to fight for their homes and families. His voice was a beacon of hope amidst the chaos, but fear had paralyzed their hearts, rendering them incapable of defiance. The terror of Acacius's wrath was too great. Lucius, armed with nothing but a blacksmith's hammer, fought with the ferocity of a lion defending its pride. His courage was unmatched, but he was one man against many, and his bravery was no match for the legionaries' brutal efficiency. The odds were insurmountable. Lucius was captured and shackled, forced to watch as his beloved Arishat was dragged away, her screams echoing in his ears. His heart shattered. He thrashed against his bonds, his rage burning like a wildfire, but it was no use. The chains held firm, mocking his helplessness. Acacius, his face twisted in a cruel smirk, approached the captive Lucius. He reveled in the suffering he had caused. He saw the raw fury in the man's eyes, the burning desire for vengeance. It amused him. He thrived on the hatred he inspired. He decided to spare Lucius's life, for now. There was more suffering to be extracted from this defiant soul. He would make this man suffer, break him, and then discard him. Lucius's spirit would be crushed under the weight of his torment. He would turn him into a gladiator, a plaything for the masses. The arena would be his new prison. And so, Lucius, stripped of everything he held dear, was dragged off into slavery, his heart consumed by a burning desire for vengeance. His spirit, though battered, remained unbroken. He would make Acacius pay for what he had done. The fire of revenge burned brightly within him. He would have his revenge. No matter the cost, Lucius vowed to bring Acacius to justice. Lucius's journey to the gladiatorial arena was a descent into hell, a harrowing odyssey that would test the very limits of his endurance and spirit. He was transported across the vast expanse of the Mediterranean Sea, shackled and crammed into the bowels of a slave ship, a floating prison where hope seemed to wither away. The stench of sweat, vomit, and fear was suffocating. The cries of his fellow captives a constant reminder of his own despair. Each day felt like an eternity. The darkness of the ship's hold a reflection of the darkness in his heart. He endured the brutal treatment of the slave drivers, their whips leaving deep welts upon his back. The pain was excruciating, but it only fueled his resolve to survive. Yet he refused to break. His spirit remained unyielding, a flicker of defiance in a sea of submission. He clung to the memory of Arishat, her laughter echoing in his ears, a beacon of light in the enveloping darkness. Her image was his sanctuary, a reminder of what he was fighting for. He arrived in Leptis Magna, a bustling port city on the African coast renowned for its gladiatorial games. The city's grandeur was a stark contrast to the misery he had endured. Thrown into the city's gladiatorial school, he was stripped bare and examined like an animal. The humiliation was profound, but it only steeled his resolve. The lanista, a hulking brute with a face etched in cruelty, saw potential in Lucius's powerful physique and the burning fire in his eyes. He was determined to mold Lucius into a formidable warrior. He would make this one into a champion, a killer who would bring glory to his name and riches to his coffers. The training was relentless, designed to break the weak and forge the strong. Lucius was subjected to a brutal training regime designed to break his spirit and forge him into a weapon. Each day was a battle for survival, a test of his willpower. He endured countless hours of sparring against seasoned gladiators, their blows raining down upon him like hammer blows. The pain was a constant companion, but so was his determination. He learned to fight with a variety of weapons, from the short sword and shield to the net and trident. Each weapon became an extension of his will, a tool for his survival and eventual revenge. Each victory, each drop of blood spilled, brought him closer to his goal of vengeance. The arena was a crucible, and he was being forged into a deadly instrument of retribution. The arena became his sanctuary, the roar of the crowd a symphony of pain and rage. It was here that he found a twisted sense of purpose, a place where his suffering could be transformed into power. He would become a gladiator, yes, but not for their amusement. his heart burned with a singular purpose. He would become death itself, and Acacius would be his final victim. The path was set, and there was no turning back. Word of Lucius's prowess in the arena spread like wildfire through Leptis Magna. His gladiatorial name, the Lion of Lambassa, became synonymous with ferocity and skill. He fought with a cold, calculating rage, dispatching his opponents with brutal efficiency. He showed no mercy, for he had received none himself. Each victory brought him closer to his goal of vengeance, fueling the fire that burned within him. Crowds flocked to the arena to witness the spectacle of his fights. They cheered his name, their bloodlust sated by the violence they witnessed. But Lucius cared nothing for their adulation. He fought for one reason and one reason only, to avenge the death of his beloved Arishat and the destruction of his home. He saw Arishat's face in the eyes of every opponent, felt the weight of his fallen village on his shoulders with every swing of his sword. His fame reached the ears of Proconsul Claudius Macro, the Roman governor of Africa Proconsularis, who was known for his love of gladiatorial games. Intrigued by the tales of the Lion of Lambassa, Macro ordered Lucius to be brought to him. He saw in Lucius not just a skilled fighter, but a man of presence and intelligence, qualities rarely found in the arena. He sensed a hidden depth within the gladiator, a story waiting to be told. Little did he know that Lucius's story would shake the very foundations of the Roman Empire.